Peace be upon you. In today's video, I wanted to address some of the comments that were made in my last video, 10 questions for a Quranist about the Kaaba. In my last video, I talked about what is going on in Makkah, Saudi Arabia under the name of Hajj, that this is pure idol worship, and that the structure, the cuboid structure that the Muslims are circling and prostrating to and kissing, etc., is an idol. And obviously, I got a lot of hate for that. But that is actually the obvious truth. And unfortunately, you have been brainwashed from birth to think that what you are doing there is not idol worship, but it actually is idol worship. And I wanted to look at the Quran and give you some verses from the Quran which talk about the Kaaba, about the sacred house, the inviolable house, and show you from the Quran alone. This is only 3 verses we're going to be looking at. I will show you from the Quran alone that what the Quran is talking about when it talks about the house, it is not talking about this cuboid structure. It's not. And I also wanted to show you from your own translations. I will not be using Sam Garen's translation or Arbery's translation or my own translation. I'm going to be using 2 translations. One is by Sahih International, which is published by the publishing house of Dar Abul Qasim in Saudi Arabia, and the other is the translation by Hilali and Khan, which is published and printed at the King Fahd complex for the printing of the Holy Quran. So these are translations by the Saudis, authorized by the Saudis. They themselves show that the Bayt, the house that is referred to in the Quran, cannot be that stone structure. It cannot, because God tells us the signs, God tells us the description of what we will find in the house, and you will see that that's not the case. So even the translators themselves are blind to what the Quran is saying, because they're not really making an attempt to understand what the Quran is saying. They're just fudging over things or outright changing the words to fit this fiction that that Abraham built this cuboid structure and then commanded people, or went around telling people, okay, start worshiping this idol. That's not what happened. So let's look at the first verse. Okay, this is Sahih International. Allah has made the Kaaba, the sacred house, standing for the people, and has sanctified the sacred months and the sacrificial animals and the garlands by which they are identified. That is so you may know that Allah knows what is in the heavens and what is in the earth, and that Allah is knowing of all things. This was Sahih International Translation. Hilali Khan says, Allah has made the Kaaba, the sacred house, an asylum of security and Hajj and Umrah pilgrimage for mankind, and also the sacred month and the animals of offerings and the garlanded people or animals, etc., marked with the garlands on their necks, made from the outer part of the stem of the Makkah trees for their security, that you may know that Allah has knowledge of all that is in the heavens and all that is in the earth, and that Allah is the all-knower of each and everything. Okay, let's look at the Arabic. It says, Ja'alallahu al-Ka'bata al-Bayt al-Harama qiyaman lin-nasi. Okay, so God made the Kaaba, al-Bayt al-Haram, the inviolable house, or the sacred house. That's how they're doing it. Qiyaman lin-nas, standing for the people. Hilali Khan says, an asylum of security. Okay, fine. So this is the Kaaba. The Kaaba is an inviolable house. It is a sacred house. This Bayt, this house, God is telling us, first of all, where it was located, and second, what we would find in it. Okay, so if this stone idol, this cuboid structure in Makkah, Saudi Arabia, is the Bayt, the house that God is referring to in these verses, then we should be seeing these things, these signs, but they're not there. Okay, so let's look at this. Chapter 3, verse 96 and verse 97. Indeed, the first house of worship established for mankind was that at Makkah, blessed and a guidance for the worlds. This is a international translation. Okay, in Arabic, in awwala baytun wudi'un linnasi lillazi bibakkatan mubarakan wa hudan lil alamin. Okay, so it says the first house, which implies there were other houses after that. Okay, that's just doing 2 plus 2. Okay, and then it says wudi'un linnasi lillazi bibakkatin mubarakan, established or set or appointed, fine, for mankind, this house, the first house, and it was in Bakka, bibakkatan, not Makkah. Sahih International just outright changes the word and then just says Makkah. They don't even bother to put Makkah in brackets, as Hilali and Khan have the decency to do. They just change the word from Bakka to Makkah. Just trying to show you that how these translators are twisting words to fit this fiction, this narrative. Okay, they don't have the decency to, you know, put these things in brackets. Hilali and Khan are a little bit more truthful. They say, verily the first house of worship appointed for mankind was that at Bakka, and then in brackets they put Makkah, full of blessing and a guidance for al-alamin, the mankind and jinns. Okay, so the first house was established, okay, was established for mankind at Bakka, and it was full of blessings and a guidance for the worlds, or as Hilali Khan put it, the mankind and jinns. Fine, whatever. Okay, so this is what the house was. Let's look at the next verse, because this verse completely destroys this whole fiction that the Kaaba, the house, the sacred house, is this stone idol. Okay, it says, Sahih International first. In it are clear signs, such as the standing place of Abraham, and whoever enters it shall be safe. And due to Allah from the people is a pilgrimage to the house, for whoever is able to find thereto a way. But whoever disbelieves, that indeed Allah is free from need of the worlds. Let's look at Hilali Khan. In it are manifest signs. For example, the Maqam, place of Abraham. Whosoever enters it, he attains security. And Hajj, pilgrimage to Makkah, to the house, Kaaba, is a duty that mankind owes to Allah, those who can afford the expenses for one's conveyance, provision, and residence. And whoever disbelieves, that is, denies Hajj, pilgrimage to Makkah, then he is a disbeliever of Allah. Then Allah stands not in need of any of the al-alamin, mankind and jinns. Okay, let's look at the Arabic. Fihi ayatum bayyinatun maqami Ibrahima wa man dakhaluhu kana aminan. So fihi means in it. In what? In the house. Ayatum bayyinatun are clear signs, manifest proofs. Maqamu Ibrahim, which we are supposed to think means the footsteps of Ibrahim. If you look at this word in the Qur'an, maqam, it means a station, a standing. Okay, so the translation is the station of Ibrahim. Waman dakhalahu kana aminan, and whoso entered it, kana aminan, he was safe. Now, my question to you is, are these footsteps of Ibrahim inside the Kaaba or outside? Here's a picture. This is what the footsteps of Ibrahim are. They're encased in this thing. This thing is outside the Kaaba. You see? It's outside the house. And God is saying that even if you twist the word maqam to mean footsteps, physical footsteps, even if you twist it and you say this is what it is, this thing should be inside the house. It should be inside the Kaaba, not outside. Okay? Second thing, it says, and whosoever enters it, he attains security. وَمَنْ دَخَلُهُ كَانَ آمِنًا, or whoso entered it was safe. Are you allowed entry into this Kaaba? Right now, today, can you say, hey, Mr. Guard, I want to be safe, I want to enter the Kaaba? No one is allowed entry unless you're a part of the clan of Ibn Saud. Nobody can go in there. So, the translators themselves are deaf, dumb, and blind. They're translating, but they're not understanding anything. They're not seeing that what this is referring to cannot mean the Kaaba, which the Saudis are calling in Makkah, Saudi Arabia. It doesn't, because the word is Bakka, first of all, and then it's giving you the proofs that you should find in it, not outside of it, in it. And whoso entered it should be safe. Okay? Because again, it's an inviolable house, it's a sacred house, so there's no bloodshed involved. That's why they were safe. So this whole thing unravels in chapter 3, verse 97. I invite you to read this verse again. Read it, reread it. And better yet, go and look in the Quran of the verses that talk about the Bayt and talk about the Kaaba. And you will see that this is not what God is referring to in the Quran. Just because the Saudis created this stone structure and then named it Kaaba and then said, look, this is the Kaaba in the Quran, we're supposed to believe them? It doesn't match. It doesn't match what the Quran is saying. I hope you understand that. I hope you get that. Because you have to take God's words seriously and really, I mean, they're literal, they're accurate. If God is saying fihi ayatun bayyinatun, that means in it, not outside of it, in it. Okay, and it was in Bakka. This is in the past tense, by the way. It says awwal baytun, first house. So don't just argue for argument's sake. You've been taught a lie, that you've been doing idol worship. That's what you were doing. That's what your ancestors were doing. And the Quran is not talking about this. Remember, God says in the Quran, the fuel of the fire, men and stones. Okay? This is something you need to take seriously. This is idol worship. And here you read, it says, chapter 2, verse 24. First, here it's talking about that if you are in doubt, then bring a surah. So chapter 2, verse 23 says, and if you are in doubt about what we have sent down upon our servant, then bring a surah the like thereof, bring a chapter the like thereof, and call your witnesses other than God, if you be truthful. But if you do not, and you will not, then be in prudent fear of the fire, whose fuel is men and stones, prepared for the false claimers of guidance, the Al-Kafirun. This is Sam Garen's translation. Okay? So this is a big thing. Here, chapter 66, verse 6. O you who heed warning, protect yourselves and your families from a fire, whose fuel is men and stones, over which are angels stern and severe. They do not oppose God in what he has commanded them, but do what they are commanded. Men and stones, see? Men and what they worship, stones. Stone worship is old, is very old. You're doing the same thing. By facing this thing, by circling it, by hanging pictures of this thing in your houses, in the mosques, and sacrificing the animals in the direction of the Kaaba, and burying your dead facing it. Think about this. This is an idol. This is all there is to it. Obviously, God guides whom he wills, but I wanted to defend my comments that I made in the last video and point you back to the Quran. The Quran has the answers. You have to study it. And these translations are Sunni translations that are published and promoted by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The translators themselves made a big slip up. And I'm guessing in the next translation they'll probably fix it. But here it is for now. Anyway, that's it for now. God willing, until next time, peace and blessings be upon you.